Well,
Maybe ask Mama some questions.
I was just
while.
about to say, Granddaddy said he had to walk to school. Did you ever have to walk to school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was just right over there.
Okay. But otherwise, were you a bus person, or did y'all have a car that?
Oh, we had a car.
Oh, you're fancy.
Nothing like him.
We had a car too, but
Not worth
Daddy
taking
was
you.
milking.
Yeah.
I did this all well on in the 10th grade. I would drive the car. I wanted to drive the car because I had study hall this 6th period, and I could always leave at study hall, and you could leave and go home. And if you had a way to go, that's what a lot of people did.
Yeah.
And well, that put me home about an hour and 10 to 15 minutes before the bus would come, or maybe much as 2 hours, according to which way out the bus was taking, you know. But later I had other interests. I was on the school paper. Something anyhow. We sold ads and stuff like that. 2 or 3 of the girls did, and myself. And we go to Spartanburg and sell ads at different places to go in the annual.
Right.
And so I had a car. I could get me 3 or 4 girls, and that's what we go do, sell ads. I'll hang out with the girls and sell some ads too, because I could sell. I can still sell.
Well, Grandmama, did you put any mice in anyone's drawer?
Not quite. I've got more sense.
Were you a good girl?
What?
Were you a good girl in school?
I guess.
Yeah.
I sure didn't act like he did.
I was developing skills.
Yeah. You were.
Did you read a lot and stuff for fun?
Yeah.
Probably funny books.
No.
What else did you like to do when you were little?
Play with my cat, I guess.
Tell her about baptizing kittens.
I don't know anything about it except that I just know I did it.
Stuck them in water and drowned them.
What?
You stuck them under water and drowned them.
She didn't drown them.
Water did.
I just baptized.
She was baptizing them.
We were eating at somebody's house after church one Sunday. When I got up from the table, I went out and got the kitten or kittens, I don't know, to baptize. They needed it.
Well, what'd you do like every day after school and stuff?
I have no idea what I did.
Long time ago. Did y'all both go to college?
She did.
Was that a big deal back in the day? People make a big deal out of it now.
Oh.
It was the norm for people that I befriended and all.
Yeah.
My group, uh, I don't know about the girls, but very few of the boys went. And that was the dumber ones. And I think he's dead now. He's from Poplar Springs, and he had a real white face and a red nose, kindly. Always draining his nose and picking at it and that kind of stuff. But I just can't put a name on it. But anyhow, they was the group. They was a group from when we had the main big merger. Reedville, Duncan, and WLT went together, and that was about when I was in the 9th grade. But I showed cattle. The first calf I showed, we grew a calf there. They had some land behind the school, the old tater house that we kept. Farmers bring potatoes, sweet potatoes in there, and we keep a slow fire that cured them out, dried them, and made them good taters, plus it keep them freezing in the winter. But we just built us a little thing about big as this house, a little wire fence, and I don't know where we got a calf from, but somewhere the chapter bought a calf and put it in there, and we grew it for the first fat stock show we had at Spartanburg, Piedmont Interstate Fairgrounds. And all of us, or most of us, would get the calf and we trained it to lead, and we was studying showmanship and that kind of stuff. And evidently, Mr. Blackwell thought I was the best at handling the calf. So I got to be the one he chose to show the calf at the fair. Wasn't a fair at the fairground, but wasn't no fair going on. This was just put on by the Young Farmers Association of Spartanburg County out thing. And well, I got the calf placed second. And there's a boy from Woodruff had the best calf, his number 1. And the one we had grown, because it wasn't my calf, it was Chapter's calf, but it placed second. But I placed first in showmanship. And from then on, I showed in several shows. The next year, I grew a calf here. That was my calf. And I showed him at the same show the second year it was there. And I had the grand champion, and I had the showmanship prize, and he brought over $1,000.
Wow.
And that was a heap of money back in the 4 days.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's about like $1 million now, about the equivalent. But after that, Ain't was nobody else had a chance in the ducking area of getting shot. I showed guys against Lewis Harrison. That's a Peabody Interstate Fair, and I beat him in showmanship. Nobody did think he could beat Lewis Harrison. And he was about a year older than me. But I had some skills I learned, and I had some that I was born with them. And it without a doubt, it helped all the way through. I also showed for the regional championship, and I got number 1. And I showed in the state championship, and I got number 1.
Is this in the FFA?
And FFA.
See, you never said that.
And are we talking beef cows?
Beef cows and dairy.
Yeah.
I showed both. And then I won a trip, showmanship trip. And I think it was for the state, winning the state showmanship. And we decided at that time we done got married because it was delayed a year before the convention, the FFA convention was going to be is for the next year. And I done got married and carried her with me. And we not only that, we carried Richard, what's his last name? Lives down there at Burnsview. Hawkins, Richard Hawkins rode with us because he had won a trip, and he really had nobody to take him. So.
Yeah. Well, back up a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you were born and raised right here.
Mm-hmm.
Grandmother, wasn't it West Virginia?
Oh yeah, no, Spartanburg.
Oh, really? Why am I thinking Virginia?
She grew up in West Virginia.
Yeah, she left pretty soon. Went up there.
So,
About 3 or something.
how'd y'all meet?
Well, she came down here. Her daddy was moved down from West Virginia down to Liberty Hill.
Transferred from the West Virginia Conference, Methodist Conference, to the South Carolina Conference, and this was where he was placed.
So, like, got a new church?
Yeah,
Or-
at Liberty Hill. He was
Okay.
placed at Liberty Hill as
Okay.
a preacher.
Uh-huh.
So y'all just ran into each other, or do you remember?
Well, I was having a heck of a hard time hiding behind stuff. She finally caught me.
No, I put Mariana out there to catch him.
That's a whole nother set of stories. That'll have to be a whole day to tell Mariana tales.
Don't have Mariana tales.
Well, I can tell you, this is on the level 100%. Harvey was sick here, and I was over at the little store in Woods over at the crossroads. It's gone now, but it's one of the buildings there.
It was at Broughton, McClyman, and Abner Creek.
Yeah. And probably on a Saturday or something, I stopped in there to buy something or get her dope or something. And
Get a what?
Like,
cocoa.
yeah.
That means something different now.
I didn't even know anything like that existed.
Yeah.
But anyhow, they had a little card in the window. It said, farm a mile and a half down the road will be sold at 10, 11 o'clock this morning. I said, I go down, I went on down there. Went out that little dirt road, and I could see enough to know, you know, it's a nice, reasonable chunk of land, 80 acres. And there was a lawyer in Greer that was gonna sell it. He wasn't an auctioneer and didn't know much about it. He just said, I got a bid and we sell it by the dollar, not by the acre. $1 buys it all. And I knew Otis Bone, and Otis had a little construction company in Greenville, but he was a big blow. You thought he might have been the mayor of New York City if you just talked to him. But, of course, he was a lot richer than New York City mayor would have been. But he said $5,000. Little lawyer hammering around there like he's trying to get the price to increase. I said 5,100. And got 5,100. Anybody gonna raise it? Come back to Otis. Otis, he thought Otis would come back. Otis was shaking because until I bid to 100, he thought he was stuck. And so I bid to 5,100. I come back, and Hermie scolded me for spending any money.
You remember what year that was?
No.
I would say I was about third grade, but
I'd say that would be about right.
Well, what year's that?
It was after Christ, so it'd be AD.
about 65 maybe. You're older than I am, Daddy.
Barely. And we got talking, I said, well, I can go to the bank and borrow the money, and that's a good price. And well, I was already thinking, well, I'll go down there and get it fenced, and I'll get me some cows down there. When I sell a cow, I'll be putting the money in my pocket and not giving it to Daddy. And so I went to, it happened to be, there was 2 or 3 loan officers. Hermie's uncle was one, Harry Daniel. And Shalford McClymon was one, and 2 or 3 of the Dobsons. And I went to Harry because he'd been in the family. He said, boy, don't you know buying land's bad business? It's just a waste of money.
Did he really?
That's what he said. He said, I won't loan you nothing on the land. But it says, I will take your house and pay it off and let you pay the bank for your house. Well, Cecil McCommons had kind of worked it out originally because they built the house. And so it was financed through the people at Wood Federal Savings and Loan. And we paying them, I believe, $100 a month for their amount. And so, and I don't think, we have an acre here drawn off, but I don't believe it ever been recorded or nothing like that. But when Bank of Greer got it, of course they wanted it recorded, because see, that would come their collateral. And all he was loaning me is $5,100 on about a $12,000 house that'd been paid on for 3 years. So it was quite a bit of equity he had here that he wasn't sticking his neck too far out. And so they did, set the papers up. I don't know where she had to go sign or not. I imagine she did. And
I sure did have to pay.
anyhow,
Well, what were y'all? So, what'd you do for money at the time?
I'm not got there yet.
Oh.
But see, I was working. When I got married, they started giving me $50 a week, 7 days work at the dairy. It probably was about as much as they could afford. But I saw too many things that were going in the wrong direction. And that's why they couldn't afford to pay no more. They're using all the money for other things. And of course, I don't know how many years I stayed with it, but I finally said this has got to change. And that's when I went to Stillheddle, and they was glad to see me.
I was in the 5th grade then.
Were you? And they give me a job, and I didn't know it at the time, but I was making I think $1.80 an hour, and they'd give me $2 after a period of 4 weeks or 6 weeks.
What'd you do there?
I assisted in bringing the woodworking machinery from Chicago. And Chicago would pack it up and mail it to us at Stillheddle. And I was hired to get that machinery set up and get it running, producing these blocks that they used. And I did get well, I made one mistake, and I saw they had one of the first things they set up was a U drill that they bought there in Greer, and it was had 8 spindles, 4 in a row, and they was trying to bore these little blocks that were 3/8 wide and 5/8 high and 2 3/4 inch length. And they had to bore holes in them 4 holes, and it had to be edgeways. The block you bored through the narrow point. And I believe 5/1000ths of an inch is all those holes can vary. And then after you bored through the block, you had to go down with another drill that would be on the same drill. They would just ground the front down and countersink each hole, 2 holes, countersink to the outside 2 holes to where the head of the screw that was going to mount it would be below the wood surface, so anything could rub back and be fine. And they had 2 barrels, that we talking about 55-gallon barrels, with many thousands of them things in it. It would be 20,000 probably to the barrel. And Davis Holder over here, he was the guy that was trying to work it out. And he had some engineers there. And I hadn't been there but a very short while. And they told me later it was the head engineer. I don't remember the exact words I said, but I probably said a fool could see them things in there doing like that. You're not going to be able to hold them and get their true dimensions in 1,000 years. I said, you got to have something like a spring, and that's what you use, a leaf spring, to push them to the back, hold them to the back, and then something to clamp them from the sides. You can have one side of each block, a stationary side. You can have the other side on something to slide in and hold it tight. See, there's not air everywhere. So all you got to do is put an air cylinder on it and a flat bar and a pin in the back, and then you slide the blocks in, punch a button, and the drill comes down. These things come in and hold it in place and drill them. Next morning, that was on. But my immediate boss man, he said, try not to show too much to them guys. He says, they think because they've been here 20 years, they know everything.
I think that's the way it is about everywhere.
Well, I'm sure it was. See, I'm from the country.
Yeah.
I make things do. I built a trailer, and it's still up here. I built a trailer to haul dirt and dump it. It built this dam down there. And we didn't buy steel. Daddy wouldn't buy a piece of steel for nothing. I finally got a place that was selling me what they call drops. That stuff they cut off of somebody else's stuff. And I would buy them drops for, I could pick them out and get what I wanted. It was pretty cheap, or I couldn't have bought it. But I made me a cow trailer. And George Poole got it and had it till he died, and somebody else has it over that way down. And, well, I used it 10 years. And I made this thing the whole, I made it out of a trailer frame, house trailer frame. You get wheels and all that stuff pretty reasonable. Most time give to you.
Well, what'd you do after? How long were you at the steel place
Let's see.
or the wood place? Or
Yeah, it was
Well,
like-
then you started the alarm company.
Oh, well, first I went to, I answered an ad. Well, I could see the business, not to Western Electric stuff, it was doing great. But the pedal business, all that textile machinery that involves the stuff that they were making and had been making for 100 years. Not necessarily at that location, but up north, and they come down here. But anyhow, they was making picker sticks and shuttles for weaving cloth and all that kind of stuff. Well, that stuff was dying rapidly. And I believe it was Clemson, they come out with a shuttleless loom. Well, if you're making shuttles and you got them shuttleless coming out, and then the other shuttle was, it's probably $300.
He's going, JB.
And I don't know how many would go on the loom, but I'm sure it'd be a lot of them.
yeah,
And so that was just killing the company. I saw the handwriting on the wall, but now they run a little while after the shuttle completely closed down, and they just run Western Electric. But I'd been gone 6 months, and they brought Davis Holder back over there. He was still working for him in the other department. And when I left, they put him in there to do what I was doing. And it wasn't a whole lot of work that I did. I had to get machines set for a product that we needed to run, and get the wood started, get somebody to go saw it up to whatever length or whatever thickness all we wanted. You had to calculate out how much would be cut off into several operations. You gotta plate it, make it slick, or you gotta run it through a sander, all them things. But that wasn't a